And as you can see, people, October the 7th, 2023 is what it reads. Your light will continue to shine bright, and the lights of your joyous laughter will forever be remembered. And that's really what we're here today to help come together. I'm from Leeds, and we're broadcasting to the Leeds community now. So Jane, my wife, will be speaking shortly. She's one of the speakers. So, but it's nice to come and be together with another Jewish community.
We're Glasgow Friends of Israel.
Ah, right, okay. Apparently we were waiting for you to arrive.
No, they're from London. No, we came by train. I don't think they took into account there was a football match on today between Rangers and Falkirk.
Okay.
And that's part of the road that they would come.
I will get the Great Scottish Run.
And the Great Scottish Runs on.
Best laid plans, etc., etc.
Edward texts us and says the bus hasn't left yet. Jewish time.
Yeah, absolutely. Jewish mean time. Scottish Jewish mean time.
Are you in touch with Vicky then?
Vicky,
Stein.
my Jane is the contact with Vicky. Yeah. So because Jane's here today because she's.
Please ask everyone to come forward as much as you can, because the loudspeaker is loud, but it might not get to everybody in the back. So please be friendly with your next door neighbor and move up as much as you can. That would be absolutely good so that everybody can hear at the back. And if anybody's at the back and can't hear, please make your way up to the front, because it's the front and you can hear a little bit better. So thank you everybody so much for coming here today. My name is Sammy Steen, and I'm the chair of Glasgow Friends of Israel. This is an event that's been organized by both Edinburgh Friends of Israel and Glasgow Friends of Israel, and myself and my wife Vicky, who you'll hear from later on. She's probably been the most involved in this event, and it's wonderful to see so many people here today. Before we start, I'd just like to mention how sad it is that we've had another religious attack, terrorist attack today on the mosque. As if it wasn't bad enough, on Thursday night at Manchester at the synagogue, somebody felt they had to do something similar with the mosque, and it's so sad to see that this is still happening. And hopefully we'll talk about it a bit later on. If things do eventually sort themselves out in the Middle East, we might see a huge reduction in these hate attacks, and I hope that really happens. Anyway, without further ado, the bus will arrive eventually and people will be joining us. I'd like to ask Jack to come up. Jack was very involved in organizing this, and he will introduce and welcome you all. Jack.
First of all, forgive me for reading from a pre-arranged script, but good afternoon. I'm Jack Gold, and I'm the convener of Edinburgh Friends of Israel. Thank you to everybody for coming. It's very important. I'll speak for 5 or 6 minutes, then I will pass the mic on to Vicky and Sammy, and they'll announce the agenda for today. So we're gathered here today on the 2nd anniversary of the most recent example of genocidal Jew hatred since World War II, this time in the Israeli heartland, when over 1,200 young, beautiful people and members of the local communities were heartlessly slaughtered by murderous killers. That's what we're remembering today, in the most ruthless, sadistic and barbaric way possible, on 7th of October 2023, a date which will forever remain in our minds. Some victims, including some of the 240 who were also kidnapped, came from all around the world. Today we pray together for the early release of the remaining hostages. The sad fact is that too many Western leaders have capitulated to terror by rewarding the terrorists with the chimera of a Palestinian state. of which Hamas declared a win. They declared a win and thanked those leaders for their decision. A sure sign this was a terrible mistake. Hamas did not attack because they didn't have a state. Hamas attacked because they did have a state. In the movie The Matrix, the blue pill offers blissful ignorance within the simulated world of the Matrix, while the red pill reveals the harsh truth of reality outside the simulation, leading to enlightenment and no return to the illusion. Many Western leaders have swallowed the blue pill, believing themselves to be righteous in doing so. With the blue pill comes the conviction that the lies told about Israel are truth, an inversion of reality, believing that Israel is somehow uniquely evil. It's important to remind the world, and sometimes ourselves, that Jews are the victims of this war, not the perpetrators. We didn't want it. We didn't ask for it. But there's a danger that the world be convinced that the reverse is true. If we lose the information war being waged against us, libeling Israel as genocidal killers, worse than the Nazis, an apartheid state, all lies, all untrue, but lies make it round the world twice before the truth has got its boots on. Meanwhile, the process We see such a mindset writ large. The only objective was to kill, 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 irrespective of race, gender, age, politics, religion. Barbaric evil had no prejudice. It didn't matter that many whom they killed were supporters of closer ties with Gazans, and ultimately, who knows, down the line, a Palestinian state. Hamas may have killed that idea too, as a result of their active actions. Certainly, in the minds of most Israelis, that is the case. Hostages taken to Gaza were physically abused, and not just by Hamas, but by cheering civilians. Respect for life and humanity is a mark of civilization, especially so within Judaism. What we saw on October the 7th was barbarism, the actions of a death cult, the opposite of civilization. A warning to the West. When barbarism comes through the door, civilization jumps out the window. To our leaders, the barbarians are at our door. Why can you not see them? I will now pass the mic to Sammy Steen of Glasgow Friends of Israel.
So that was a welcome speech. And now, as he said, here's Sammy
Thank you
Steen.
very much, Jack. As I said at the beginning, I'm the chair of Glasgow Friends of Israel. We've been going for 10 years, and from the very first day that we started our peace advocacy stall in Glasgow, our slogan has been pro-Israel, pro-Palestinian, pro-peace. And that's what we believe. We believe we need to have peace for the Israelis and for the Palestinians. It's not for us to say how the Palestinians will get their peace, what kind of state they will have, but we do hope one day that the Israelis will have a homeland and the Palestinians will also have a homeland next to Israel and they'll live in peace. And that's what. But with regards to today, we come together today in a spirit of remembrance, solidarity, and hope. We are here because there are still Israeli citizens being held hostage in Gaza. A few days ago, I was hopeful that following the peace plan and conference between Donald Trump and Netanyahu, Hamas would come to their sense and they will agree to have a deal with Israelis. And even as we stand here today, we're still waiting for Hamas to tell us if they're going to agree. We're still waiting for Hamas. Everybody else has agreed. The Arab countries have agreed, but Hamas is still holding it up. But as of now, the ordeal of the hostages and their families that has stretched for far too long, as weeks have become months, months have become 2 years, is to continue their freedom is still being denied. But by all of us standing here today, we say to them, to the families, you are not forgotten. We carry you in our hearts. We will not stop demanding you return. Each hostage is not only a victim of cruelty, but a life interrupted. Each one is a person with a story. Some were taken from their homes, others were kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival, a place which was supposed to be one of joy but turned into a nightmare. They could be grandparents who should be surrounded by the laughter of their grandchildren. They could be young people who should be planning their future. They are parents, children, and friends. Their lives must not be imagined away. They are real people, and they must be brought home. And today we also remember the families. For every hostage still being held, there are loved ones who wake each day to unbearable uncertainty. Parents waiting for news of their child, children asking for their parents, when will they come home? Spouses left alone in the silence at the dinner table. Brothers, sisters, friends, all living with a wound that does not heal. The courage in the face of despair humbles us. Their endurance is a lesson in strength. And our presence here today is also for them. To say, we see you, We stand with you, and we will not abandon you. Our vigil is not only about grief and longing, it's also about resolve and resolution. It's about standing for the values that unite us, the belief of sanctity of life, the belief that no one should be held in captivity, the belief that families should always be together. To gather here together is to resist despair. To gather here is to say that cruelty will not have the last word. Today we reflect. Let us think of the hostages, not only of their suffering, but also of their courage. Wherever they are, we hope they can feel that people all around the world are holding them close. We hope they can sense that strangers who have never met them are keeping faith with them, that they are being loved. Let us also pray that we are so close to the day that we've all been waiting for. The day when all the hostages are reunited with their families. The day when mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, friends and neighbors can embrace each other again. Pray that day will come very soon. But until it comes, we will not rest. We will not turn away. We will not stop calling out for justice. So let this vigil and those who hold every Thursday, because we have a vigil here every Thursday outside the Parliament to coincide with First Minister's questions. So every Thursday we meet outside this Parliament as an act of remembrance, but also a struggle against despair. Let it be a message to the hostages, you are not forgotten. Let it be a message to the families, you are not alone. And let it be a message to the world. Every life matters, every hostage must come home. Thank you so much today for standing together with us in remembrance. Thank you.
So the small crowd very appreciative of those words. And now, next speaker.
I'd like to introduce a beautiful young singer called Dana Maitlis from Glasgow, who's currently studying at the University of Edinburgh. Dana has chosen 3 songs for us today, and she told me that she has always found music to be a way of expressing hope and connection. And Dana added that she's grateful for the chance to contribute today to the Vigil of Remembrance through her songs. Dana's first song today will be Psalm 121, sung in Hebrew, Esa enai shir ma'alot. This song is a prayer of hope and protection. It comes from Psalm 121, where we will lift our eyes to the mountains and ask, from where will my help come? And we have answer, my help comes from God, the maker of heaven and earth. Singing it together is a reminder of strength, faith, and comfort in difficult times.
שיר המעלות, שא אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי עם השם, עושה שמיים וארץ, אל יתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומרך, הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל, השם שומרך, השם צילך על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יקקע, הוא ירח בלילה. השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. השם ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם. שיר המעלות אשא עיניים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי ועם השם עושה שמיים וארץ, אל יצא למות רגליך, אל ינום שורך. הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל. השם שומרך, השם צילך על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יקקע, הוא ירח בלילה. השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. השם ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם. מעתה
Thank you, Dana. That was wonderful. Thank you. I would like to invite Rabbi Rose to come and speak to us just now. For those of you who come from the far west, you might not know Rabbi Rose, but he was appointed to his current post at Edinburgh Hebrew Congregation in 2003. So he's been with us for a long time. He's also a member of the Conference of Scottish Religious Leaders, and he's an honorary president of the Edinburgh Interfaith Association. Rabbi Rose.
Thank you. So we will say a memorial prayer for the victims of October the 7th of Simchat Torah. And afterwards I will also say Kaddish. We've just heard a psalm. And afterwards I will also say Kaddish, which is, for those who do not know, is the Jewish prayer that we say when someone has passed away, which actually is a praise of God and has the idea behind it that when someone dies, then the world and God's presence in the world is lacking, and therefore we ask for God's presence to be renewed. El malei rachamim shochem b'amromim, amsei menucha nechona al kanfei shchina, b'malot kedoshim teorim v'giborim, kezohar hakiyam masirim, et nishmat chalelei kedoshei yameinu, anashim nashim b'taf, שנרצחו בפיגועי הטרור ביום שמיני עצרת ובימים שאחריו, יחד עם חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל, שיחפו נפשם למות הקדושת השם להגנת עמנו. לכן בלרחמים יסירם בסדר כנפל עולמים, ויצרו בצרור חיים נשמתם. אדוני הוא נחלתם בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם, ויעמדו לגורלם לקץ ימין, ונאמר Amen. O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant perfect rest upon the wings of the divine presence, in the exalted places among the holy, the pure, and the brave, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, to the souls of the holy martyrs of the people of Israel, men, women, and children, who were murdered in the terror attacks of Shmini Atzeret and the days that followed, together with the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces, who have sacrificed their lives for the sanctity of God in defense of our people. May the Lord of compassion shelter their souls forevermore under the cover of his wings, and bind their souls in the bond of eternal life. Their Lord is their portion. May their resting place be in Gan Eden, and may they receive their reward at the end of days. And let us say, Amen. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, ויכון ויומכון חיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כה בחטא ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עשה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Rose. I would like to invite our First Minister, John Swinney, who very kindly got in touch to say that he would like to speak with us today and to speak to us today. And I'd like him to come up right now.
Whoa! What the fuck are you doing here? I'm sorry.
Please show respect for everybody. Please show respect for everybody. And don't do that again, please. Now,
You turn your back.
I'd just like to say something, John. So I'm personally very pleased that John Swinney is with us today. But I noticed, John, that you've been a supporter of the Palestinian people, as we are as well. We noticed that you went down to London to join at the opening of the Palestinian embassy, and you supported the Palestinian people by wearing a Scottish and Palestinian lapel badge. I would like to give you one, a Scotland and Israel lapel badge, and I would like to think that you will find an opportunity to wear that too. Thank you very much.
It was an interesting beginning.
Good afternoon. I come to you in the spirit of what Sammy said to us a moment ago, which is that every life matters. And that is how I feel about the horror that this community has experienced since October the 7th, 2023, with the barbarous and unjustified and defenseless attacks that were perpetrated by Hamas on the people of Israel on the 7th of October 2023.
You have blood on your hands, you're a criminal.
And in all that I
Don't
believe,
come
and
in
all
dead.
that I
You
hold
didn't come
dear,
for a Hanukkah? You want to come here and you want to talk? How do you look yourself in the mirror?
is that I believe in the sanctity of every human life. And in that respect, what happened on Thursday in Manchester was another attack on that sanctity of human life. And I express to this community today as I have done on many occasions since October 2023, my belief in the sanctity of human life and my condemnation of the killing of Jewish people and the harassment of Jewish people and the taking hostage of Jewish people. And throughout the events since October 2023, the hostages that were taken should have been returned immediately. They should never have been taken in the first place. Nobody should have lost their lives on October the 7th, 2023, and nobody should have lost their lives in Manchester on Thursday. And I understand the depth of anxiety in the Jewish community in Scotland, and I've listened to that with care on countless occasions, and I listened to it again when I went to the synagogue in Edinburgh on Thursday night to express my solidarity and my sympathy with the people of the Jewish community. And what I want to say to this community today is that my government takes steps through the work of Police Scotland to support this community and to assure this community of its safety, and that has been expressed by many in the community to be recognised as the actions of our police force who are here to protect and to support the lives of everyone in our country. And what I hope in the course of the events that we are now witnessing in the last few days in the international community is that we may find the steps being taken now to establish steps towards peace in the Middle East, to establish a route whereby the hostages can be returned to their loved ones as they should be, and that we can begin to take the steps to find a route to peace for the people of Israel and the people of Palestine who must live together in the Middle East. And that is why I support the recognition of a Palestinian state, because I think it is the route. Because I believe it.
No, shame! You're dead Jews! And you're talking about Palestine! Stop!
Because I believe it to be the necessary route to securing peace in the Middle East. And all of us, we want to live. And all of us who want to live. All of us who believe in the sanctity of human life believe there must be peace to enable human life to be protected. Those values will underpin all that I do as First Minister to bring our communities together and to ensure that everyone in our society can live in peace and solidarity and safety in our community. And those will be the actions that my government takes. On this occasion, I stand with you in remembrance. I stand with you in remembrance of those who have lost their lives. I stand in solidarity demanding the return of the hostages, and I stand with you in demanding peace for all of our communities, and that we may live in harmony together in our country. Thank you for enabling me to speak today. Thank you.
Okay. We've had a guest here. It's really important that we do show some respect. I know many of us disagree with what's been happening, and we do have major problems in Scotland as a Jewish community. But this event is about the hostages. And I'm asking you all to respect all our speakers and all this program, and we should wait and hope together that we do get the hostages back very soon. So I think it's more important than any bad feelings we have about anybody else. I'd like now to introduce Des Tarek, who's an executive director of CUFI, the Christian United for Israel in the UK. He's been a strong advocate for Israel for 25 years and has worked for several pro-Israel organizations. A successful businessman and church leader, Des was appointed to set up and manage the UK office for John Hagee Ministries in 2006. That same year, Pastor Hagee started Christian United for Israel in the USA, which has now had over 10 million supporters for Israel in America. It'd be great if we could have that in Scotland, wouldn't it? Des established Kufa UK at the beginning of 2015, and the organization has grown rapidly and is now the UK's largest Christian pro-Israel organization involved in actively standing with Israel and the Jewish people. Kufa is a proactive in parliamentary campaigning, equipping Christians, countering anti-Semitism, which is a terrible problem these days, educating the next generation and reaching the church and the nations with the truth about Israel. There's
Well, thank you for that long introduction. I'm certainly honoured to be here today, standing with you on this solemn occasion. As Executive Director of Christians United for Israel, I represent tens of thousands of Christians across this country who stand with Israel and the Jewish people. I want to thank you all, Jews and Christians, today for coming here. I know how you actually have to be brave to come out on these occasions. You have to be brave to speak here as well. Thank you too for the thousands of Christians across this nation who are also praying for the Jewish community at this time. We do feel your pain, we really do. Obviously this is a memorial to remember the horrors of the 7th of October. And 2 years on, we still have victims and hostages who do need to be released. So all our hearts are for that. And although we have different views of how that could be achieved, we'll be so much happier when it's all over. We yearn for the day that their return to their families and their torment is brought to an end. And let's pray that that will happen in the days ahead. So on behalf of Kufi, I want to express our deep grief and horror at the abhorrent terror attack at the Heaton Park Hebrew Synagogue in Manchester. We continue to pray for the victims and their families and for the Jewish community in Manchester and across the UK. This is an attack on Jews everywhere. It's an attack on our British way of life, and it's an attack on our Judeo-Christian roots. These values which the Jewish community have upheld for centuries here. They are welcome here, they belong here, and they need to stay here. So as Christians United for Israel, I want to make this absolutely clear to our Jewish brethren. You are not alone. Christians stand with you across this country. And we will stand with you today and always. If a line has to be drawn, let it be drawn around Christians and Jews together. We stand with you. In the Bible, we read of a Gentile woman named Ruth, who told her Jewish mother-in-law, "Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." Ruth's words echo our Christian commitment to Britain's Jewish community. We will stand united with you. Whatever you go through, we will be standing with you, shoulder to shoulder. Your people will be my people, because your God is our God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the one true God, Hashem. We are at an historic moment in the UK. The Jewish people are experiencing their darkest hours since the Holocaust, and they need to know they have all of our support. We all need to make a greater stand for Israel and the Jewish community and stand against anti-Semitism.
Hear, hear.
Despite the barbaric acts carried out by Hamas on the 7th of October, the media and some protesters on the streets of London and around this nation seem willing to excuse Hamas and instead blame the Jews. This is anti-Semitism or Jew hatred. It's one of the oldest evils, and we all need to stand up and speak out whenever it raises its head. If you haven't yet realized it, That time is now. We need to stop it. We know that the Holocaust started with words, but those words led to actions, and those actions resulted in the slaughter of 6 million Jews. When people shout from the river to the sea, it may be justified by some as just freedom of speech, but those words promote fear and hatred. Fear in the Jewish community, hatred in those who utter them. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. We choose life. Always, we choose life. We know from history, that when evil men threaten to destroy the Jewish people, we need to wake up and listen and take action. I have been a strong advocate for Israel for over 25 years, but I often wonder, what would I have done during the Holocaust? Would I have followed the crowd and said nothing? Would I have bowed to the angry mobs on the streets and done nothing? Or would I have been one of those few righteous Gentiles who stood up and spoke out? To Christians, I say, you have been born into the kingdom for such a time as this. This is the time for Christians to be united for Israel and the Jewish people.
Yeah.
For true Christians, this is not a political issue. It's a Bible issue. Genesis 12:3 tells us that I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. As Christians, we want to be a blessing to the Jewish community. Sadly, there are those within our very nation who are speaking out curses upon our land. Today, our nation must ask itself serious questions. We have witnessed anti-Semitism rise dramatically in the UK since the 7th of October. Rather than this Jew hatred being suppressed, we have seen anti-Semites emboldened. Over the past 2 years, we have seen open support for Hamas. We have seen Jews demonized and vilified in our media and on our streets. And 2 weeks ago, our government shamefully rewarded Hamas terror by recognizing the Palestinian state. For 2 years, anti-Israel protesters on the streets of major cities across the UK have chanted, "Globalize the Intifada." Thursday, on Yom Kippur, we saw the fruit of that hate manifest itself in Manchester. This is a canary in the coal mine moment. Our governments need to wake up and smell the hatred in the atmosphere. This hatred of Israel, which is spewed out almost daily from our media, on our streets, and even in our parliaments, cannot be allowed to continue. Unrestrained anti-Israel rhetoric has a direct correlation to the rise in anti-Semitism. It needs to stop. Anti-Semitism needs to be rooted out and destroyed. It's a cancer that will destroy our society if we don't take serious steps to prevent its spread. I'm here today at this event because it's important to show the unity between Christians and Jews. But it doesn't stop here with just a few nice words. We all have more work to do. Only a few weeks ago, Kufi leadership met with the leaders of the Jewish community, the Board of Deputies and the Jewish Leadership Council in London to discuss how we can work closer together. At Kufi, after 10 years of standing with Israel and the Jewish people, we will redouble our efforts to urge as many Christians as possible to stand up against anti-Semitism, to pray for the Jewish community, to pray for the hostages while they continue, and to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We all want peace. To the politicians here, I charge you to do more, to support our Jewish communities, and to stop appeasing their enemies. It's all very good providing more funding for extra security, which is sadly needed, but that doesn't solve the underlying problem. To Christians who are here, our moral duty and biblical call is to stand with the Jewish people. This is now more important than ever before. And may the words of Ruth inspire us to respond to this call with conviction and courage. To our Jewish friends, be assured, you are not alone. We pray that the Lord bless you and keep you, and make his face shine upon you, and that you enjoy a peaceful Sukkot. Thank you.
Des, thank you so very much for that. And we all know, all our Jewish community knows that our Christian friends are our very best friends. Thank you, thank you. Jackson Carlaw was the former leader of the Scottish Conservative Party and has been the MSP for the Eastwood constituency since 2016. Eastwood has the largest Jewish population in Scotland, and Jackson has always been a steadfast supporter of our community and indeed of all our Scottish Jewish communities. And he's a stalwart defender of Israel's right to exist in the Scottish Parliament, a place that can be a hostile environment for Jewish people. His cross-party group for building bridges with Israel and his work for Holocaust remembrance in Parliament is appreciated by everyone. Sammy mentioned our vigils for the hostages and their families that we hold every Thursday during First Minister's questions out here in the plaza. Jackson and his assistant Josh have come outside to stand with us every single week since our very first vigil in August last year. It is now my great pleasure and honor to invite our friend Jackson Carlaw, MSP, to speak.
Friends, thank you very much. And it's really fantastic to see so many of you here today. And I'd like to begin with some thanks. First to Vicky and Sammy for the work that they do. I mean, every single Saturday on the streets of Buchanan Street, talking, engaging with others. I'd like to thank, and they've been mentioned several times, and I see them in the crowd here today, the people that come not just from Edinburgh, but from all over Scotland to stand out here every single Thursday for the last year in a vigil for the remaining hostages that we want to see released. In perishing, in fact, they were so cold that I had them in and gave them lunch on one occasion because I was worried for their well-being. I want to thank the spiritual leadership that Rabbi Rose and Rabbi Reuben give to the communities of Scotland, because it has been tireless and outstanding. And the community leadership from Stanley Lovett and from and Timothy Lovett, no relation, one's got two T's, one's got one, but they have been outstanding representatives of the community as well. You know, this is a vigil in memory of the 1,200 people who lost their lives 2 years ago. One of them, my former constituent, Bernard Cowan's mother, Irene, is with us today, along with Colin, Laura, and other members of the family. In the days immediately after his murder, she stood in the Giffnock Shul with Rabbi Reuben and lit a candle in Bernard's memory. I couldn't imagine the courage it took to step forward in the immediate hours after his death. But I realized how that pain endures. On Tuesday this week, I attended again an event in the Giffnock Shul where we heard from the father of a young man who was murdered at the Nova Music Festival in Israel on October the 7th, who had done so much to rescue others before he fell. And Irene lit a candle again, and it was no less emotional and profound and significant then than it was 2 years ago. His memory is the memory that carries me, and I will not rest, and I will not, like any of you, give up until every one of the hostages has been released.
Some of you will know I grew up with the Jewish community all around me in my Eastwood constituency. I just this minute learned that the beautiful voice we heard singing a moment ago is the niece of Beverly, who was the next door neighbour to me in Newton Mearns, who I've not seen for over 50 years, who's here today. And my son last November married a Jewish girl who was the daughter of the boy I used to play with across the road. So it is indeed a small community. But I have watched and seen anti-Semitism rear its head. You know, we never really truly defeated it. It's always been there. And we've seen it rise. We've seen it in Paris, in other countries around Europe. And this week, we saw it in the streets of our own country in Manchester. So let me call out another hero, the rabbi of the Heaton Park Synagogue, who stood strong to ensure that so many more people did not die in that atrocity. And to Adrian Dolby and to Melvin Kravitz, we add their names to the roll of honour of people that we remember in this vigil this afternoon. They should not have had to die. Nobody should have to die because of their faith. And what did I feel? I felt an overwhelming sense of shame that day, not just because of what happened in Manchester, but the scenes I witnessed in Edinburgh Waverley Station, in Glasgow Central Station, in Liverpool, and on the streets of London that night. It was completely unacceptable behaviour and so inappropriate in the wake of the events that had happened. And my message to those, and let me say, because I will, and this might not be the most popular thing I say this afternoon, I have differences of opinion about how we proceed in the face of the international situation that we face. I don't agree, as you will understand, with the unilateral recognition of the state of Palestine. But I do not doubt the commitment of the First Minister and all parliamentarians to ensuring that community relations remain cohesive here in Scotland. And I thank him for coming today. I say that, I thank him for coming today, because we will only defeat the scourge of anti-Semitism if we stand united in the face of it. So in conclusion, let me again turn to Irene, to Irene's family, and to all of you and say that I stand with the community here in Scotland. I stand with the state of Israel, its right to exist. And I say without equivocation that the only way forward, in the shadow of possibly the most unlikely man to bring peace to the Middle East, I have to say I wouldn't have put money on the First Minister's new best friend, Donald Trump. I might not have put money on that. But if that leads to progress, then I'll take it. But that progress does not include a state in which the Hamas has any part to play whatsoever. So friends, this is a vigil. Let's remember those that died. Let's keep them in our prayers. Let every one of them, blessing, be our memory. Thank you.
I'd now like to ask Dana to sing her second song, Dancing in the Sky. This song is about loss, but also imagining our loved ones in a place of peace, free from pain. It asks the questions that are so heavy on our hearts. What is it like up there? Do you see us? Do you hear us? It's a song that brings grief and hope together.
Tell me, what does it look like in heaven? Is it peaceful? Is it free like they say? Does the sun shine bright forever? Have your fears and your pain gone away? 'Cause here on earth it feels like everything good missing since you left. I'm here on earth, everything's different. There's an emptiness. Oh, I hope you're dancing in the sky, and I hope you're singing in the angels' choir, and I hope the angels know what they have. Oh, bet it's so nice up in heaven since you've arrived. Tell me, what do you do up in heaven? Are your days filled with love and light? Is there music? Is there art and invention? Tell me, are you happy? Are you more alive? 'Cause here on earth it feels like everything good, oh, is missing since you left. And here on earth everything's different. There's an emptiness. Oh, I hope you're dancing in the sky, and I hope you're singing in the angels' choir, and I hope the angels know what they have. Oh, bet it's so nice up in heaven since you've arrived. Oh, since you've arrived. Ooh, ooh, oh, oh, I hope you're dancing in the sky, and I hope you're singing in the angels' choir, and I hope the angels know what they have. Oh, bet it's so nice up in heaven since you've arrived. Oh, since you've arrived. Thank you.
You're a wonderful singer, Dana. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you. I'd like to invite Rabbi Rubin to speak to us this afternoon and give us some of his thoughts about what's been happening. Rabbi Rubin, please.
Sammy and Vicky, as you know, I was not meant to be here today. And first of all, thank you for this Shabbat and for every Thursday. And just for generally being used so out there in love of our country. I was not meant to be here today because it is a bit of a busy season in Jewish calendar. And today, hopefully my wife knows that I am here, because if not, she's waiting, wondering where he is. But more than coming here to support Sammy and Vicky and the vigil, I needed your support today. On Yom Kippur, as the news came flowing into the synagogue, into the shul about what happened at Heaton Park, and I had to stand up a few minutes later and give a sermon, and I was speechless. I just had nothing to say. But then this word came out, the word miracle. Because as I looked around our synagogue, and I realized we are just as full, if not fuller, than previous years. There are hundreds and hundreds of people there. We had children running in and out. We had to make a security announcement about how to be careful, which was shocking to have to make such an announcement. But we did it. I looked around and I said, that's the miracle of our people. That is the miracle. And I have to say, seeing so many different faces, Jewish and non-Jewish, and also the amount of emails of support that I've received from every faith and from non-faith, from neighbors. You know, I've received from even Muslim colleagues, I've received support. These miracles, there are miracles happening. I am not a politician. I don't know what's the right and the wrong. I know that sometimes things are said that are very, very scary and worrying for the Jewish community. But I know that with support and the love, and as I said other night, as we had the speaker, Michael Marlowe, he had one word he kept on saying, the word of embracing and hugging. And that is what we have to do. If we continue to embrace one another and hug one another and just be there for one another, that will be the miracle of survival. The Jewish story is we have survived. We will continue to survive and we will also thrive. So don't give up. Do what you have to do. Do it in your way. Be peaceful, be respectful, but don't give up, because we are a miraculous people. We have a miraculous story to say, and wherever we are, local neighbors and countries have what to gain from our story. We are always there to give and to share our story. But I thank you today for being today my miracle, my support, my strength in this very difficult time. I'll just conclude and ask you please to join in with me as we sing Oseh Shalom, the word Shalom, which is in every prayer. In every prayer, we are a people of peace. So let's sing it together. Let the castle and the castle and the palace and the government and the parliament hear as we sing the word Shalom. Oseh Shalom bin Ramah. Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, V'yal Kol Yisrael, V'yimru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'yal Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu. V'yal Kol Yisrael. Chag Sameach, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi Rubin. That's wonderful words for us to hear. I'd like to invite a very special young man now to speak to us. His name's Alon Penzel. He is a former IDF soldier, but also a spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces. He's been a journalist, a TV anchor, a speaker, and he's also a social activist. Alon is the author of a very special book called Testimonies Without Boundaries, which I have here if anybody wants to see it. It's a testimony to what happened on October the 7th, 2023, and the book has become a bestseller in 9 different countries and different languages. Alon's book reveals extensive and unfiltered first-hand testimonies from October the 7th, and it has rapidly gained international recognition, becoming a powerful tool to counter the denial of the attack. I've tried to read it 3 times and have not been able to read it. It's so horrifying, but it's a testament and it's important that it's recorded. The book has been endorsed by Israel's President Herzog, has been translated into 12 languages, globally distributed by the Israeli Foreign Ministry, and its testimonies were recently used by the United Nations as a legal source against Hamas. Thoroughly documenting the atrocities of the massacre and exposing the horrors, Alon has now spoken in 17 countries, sharing his unique story with parliamentarians, journalists, diplomats, and campus students, proudly speaking the truth of, despite repeated protests, and demonstrating what really happened on that awful day. Last November, he actually addressed the House of Lords. And on his way out of the country after addressing the House of Lords, he was actually detained by security at Luton Airport. He'll tell you about that alone.
Dear the powerful Scottish community, Am Yisrael Chai, and bring them home now. My name is Alon Penzel, a 24-year-old Israeli author, advocate, former IDF soldier and spokesperson, and above all, an extremely, extremely proud Zionist. On October 7, I woke up as a university student who had finished his military service a year before. Already in the morning, I realized people, some of whom I knew well, were being slaughtered or kidnapped from the very same rooms I used to sleep in during periods of my service. As the grandson of Holocaust survivors, I immediately foresaw the worldwide denial that we would face, that we're facing right now. And so I decided to take action. Very quickly, I began documenting the atrocities. I interviewed the survivors, the rescue forces, the recovery teams, and the medical personnel. Doing so, I was exposed to the burned bodies of little children, the beheaded bodies of teenagers, the tortured elderly. I was documenting incidents of incomprehensible cruelty, images and descriptions that would never let go. I wanted to play with my beautiful nieces and nephews, but I couldn't, as all I could see was death. The therapist didn't help either. But I knew what I was doing. I knew how important it was to ensure that the victims and the massacre are commemorated forever, that we expose the truth. So I compiled the book, Testimonies Without Boundaries, Israel, October 7th, 2023. Which documents over 50 completely unfiltered, exclusive, and untold first-hand accounts from the massacre. From children to elderly, sexual abuse of men and women, the party, the kibbutzim, the deadly roads. The goal was to shock the international community, to counter the denial, for each one of us to remember what happened, to never forget. But publishing the book wasn't enough for me. Since then, I've been touring the world in order to speak up for those whose voice was taken, share the testimonies, and call for the immediate, unconditional release of all our 48 hostages. One of them, my neighbor and a schoolmate, Matan Engrest, who's still waiting to hug his mother, whose family is waiting for him, and will make sure that he's coming back home. It's gonna happen. Matan is going to come back home. As part of these tours, in November last year, I was invited by Lord Historian Andrew Roberts to address the House of Lords in London. There, I was reading one unfiltered testimony after another from my book, proudly speaking the truth in the British Parliament. I was, of course, focusing on the dangerous rise of anti-Semitism, of Jew hatred here in the UK. But just a few days later, when I tried to fly back to Israel via Luton Airport, I was detained. An airport security officer stopped me for wearing an End Jew Hatred hoodie, accusing me, and I'm quoting, the illegal occupation that has been carried out by Israel since 1948. He added, because he knew that I came there to speak for the House of Lords, October 7th was only one incident part of many incidents since that illegal occupation began. He used this device to call more security officers. They themselves surrounded me, interrogating me in front of the entire airport for the horrible crime of being a Jew. They took my passport, placed me in a restricted zone, and mentioned they would inform me whether or not I can board my flight. After looking at the CCTV, they have decided to allow me to board. Now, I'm sharing this story with you here, particularly as UK citizens, particularly in the horrific Manchester attack, not even for a single moment to victimize. On the absolute contrary, I have one clear, undeniable message for all our haters out there. You will not silence us. You will not intimidate us. We are proud, we are strong, we are resilient, we are unified, and we will continue speaking up even louder. Following the incident, I immediately filed a lawsuit against Luton Airport in a case that is still ongoing. I intend to hold these people accountable. The goal is clear. We're not trying to make them like us, but they should know if they try to discriminate or hate us for being Jewish, there will be consequences. From the bottom of our broken hearts, I send my genuine condolences and strength to the community in Manchester. We owe them to continue countering Jew hate, to continue being proud of who we are, of our identity, of our hope. We owe them to continue speaking up for the hostages and for Israel. No matter how hard they try to keep us quiet, we will stay loud, we will stay proud, and we will stay clear. I've written my book as the memory of what happened, but also to remind us, as a global pro-Israeli community around the world, that we have got the truth on our side. Maybe they have got the numbers, but we have got the truth. And that's what matters most. So Am Yisrael Chai, bring them home now, not tomorrow, now. We want them all back. Am Yisrael Chai, stay strong, everyone.
Thank you, Alon. He's been practicing his speech in our house for the last couple of days, so I think I know it by heart now, but I thought I'd let him say it. I'd like to ask Stanley Lovett to join us now. Stanley is the Honorary Consul for Israel in Scotland. Now, I wasn't sure exactly what Stanley's role is, so I looked it up. Where are you, Stanley? You're here, okay. So, I'm sorry the First Minister is gone, because it's quite important that he knows what Stanley's job is. To facilitate contacts between Israel and Scotland, and between Israel and the appropriate government and local authorities to promote friendly relations. To improve the conditions for trade and economic growth, and the strengthening and expansion of bilateral and other trade relations. Now, you will know that recently the Scottish Government decided to actually cut relations between Israel and Scotland. So I'm looking forward to Stanley to reverse those as soon as possible. Thank you, Stanley.
We gather here this afternoon in sorrow and in solidarity. October 7th is a date that changed us forever. A day when terror struck Israel and the Jewish nation endured a wound that will never be forgotten. A day when Israel experienced the deadliest terrorist attack in its history. On that day, families were torn apart and the wound was opened that we still carry in our hearts. This afternoon, we remember those that we lost, their smile, their laughter, and the everyday moment that made them human. On that dreadful day, innocent lives were destroyed in an act of cruelty. Fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, friends and neighbours, men, women and children were taken from us in a single moment of unspeakable violence. Today, we remember them. We also remember the survivors and dread to think what condition they are in, those who endured the horror and those who remain in captivity. Can you imagine their families who live every second of every day with uncertainty, grief and longing? Our hearts go out to them. We hope and pray that following upon a meeting last Monday between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, that the war in Gaza will quickly end and the remaining hostages will be released. Remembrance is not enough. We must turn memory into commitment. Commitment to justice and commitment to bringing every hostage home. Commitment to ensuring that those who are no longer with us are never forgotten. Commitment to building a future where safety and peace are not dreams but do actually happen. We will not forget. We will not abandon those still waiting to come home. We will keep their names alive, their stories alive and their memory alive. May the souls of the departed rest in peace. May the missing return swiftly. And together, let's hope for a peaceful future.
Thank you, Stanley. And we all know how much time and all the wonderful donations that JNF, KKL dedicated to help rebuild Kibbutz Sufa after October 7th, when 50 Hamas terrorists murdered and injured the inhabitants of this kibbutz on the Gaza border. I'd like to mention that when our dear friend and Glasgow Friends of Israel member, Deborah Creedy, lost her life to ovarian cancer just before her 61st birthday this August, her friends in Glasgow Friends of Israel got together and we collected donations to dedicate trees in her memory that will be planted in the Scotland Avenue in Kibbutz Sufa. Bernard Cowan from Newton Mearns in Glasgow moved to Israel as a teenager and fell in love with the country. He and his wife and 3 children lived in Kibbutz Sufa, and on October the 7th, 2023, his mother Irene, his brother Colin, and his sister Laura in Glasgow received the devastating news that Bernard had been murdered by Hamas terrorists. Bernard's sister, my friend Laura, runs a mobile petting zoo, visiting nursing homes, nurseries, and special needs facilities throughout central Scotland. During her visits, she tells people about her brother Bernard, reminding them it was a Scottish boy from Glasgow who was murdered. Laura will now tell you about Bernard and how Kibbutz Sufa has returned to life after the devastation of October the 7th.
Good afternoon. My brother Bernard was an extraordinary man. Like me, he struggled at school with dyslexia. But it didn't stop him making a name for himself. Mearns Castle High School had recently opened, and he was the first one to set off a stink bomb. I now understand why Mum went grey early, thanks to our antics. At 17, he went to Israel. He made Aliyah, immigrating out there. When doing his military service on Kibbutz Sufa, he met Margaret, who was originally from Ukraine. They fell in love, married, and were blessed with 3 children, Mayan, Leor, and Yaniv. Because my mum is English, I would always like to remind Bernard's children that if they were competitive, they could represent 4 countries: Scotland, England, Israel, and Ukraine. Bernard, like me, was proud to be Jewish and Scottish. And when my parents visited the kibbutz, they would be laden with cheese, smoked salmon, whiskey, and towards the end, gin. Harris gin. You like Harris gin. He, along with every Jewish person and non-Jewish Christian friends, would be disgusted with the Scottish Parliament, flying the flag for Palestine, and also our government for recognising the state of Palestine. When speaking to our friends in Israel, friends and family in Israel, they're often worried about our safety. And normally I reassure them. But now, with what's going on, I'm not too sure myself. Bernard was very hospitable. When anybody that visited Israel, he would invite them to one of his famous barbecues. The barbecue equipment was equivalent to any good restaurant. On October the 14th, my brother would have turned 60. He would have had one of his famous barbecues. It is this year that it's ironic that the 14th of October is the Jewish date for commemorating 710. When I was on kibbutz, when I was 19, I also went out to Israel. After volunteering on Kibbutz Mitzvah, I went to a work-study program called Leave Not to Leave Not, which is based in Sabat. I was there for 3 months. It was one of the best times of my life. I worked helping the community with cleaning houses, decorating, and just helping around. But I also studied Judaism as well. I also found how I enjoyed baking. And because it was an American organization, they taught me how to make popcorn properly. I've always been in contact with them. And a few months ago, I found out they had also done work in kibbutz with Bernard's kibbutz, helping in the kindergarten, painting murals, helping with the gardens. They also helped repairing residential homes from gunfire and damage from 710. In Glasgow last year, along with my petting zoo called Bunny & Co, we had an event in Maccabi that raised money for the kibbutz. I was amazed. It wasn't just my Jewish friends that were there. There was my Christian friends. There was so much love and support for us within that time, and even now. I am so grateful for the friends, Jewish and non-Jewish friends that we have to give us this support. The hope was one day that I will be able to set up a petting zoo out in Israel. JNF, KKL have also raised money for the kibbutz. They are in the process of planting trees, which will be made into a street and be called Scotland Avenue. My nephew's children, Itan and Tayyar, now attend the kindergarten on the kibbutz, which JNF KKL helped to fund. The memorial gardens, which had also been funded by them, is being used by the residents of the kibbutz. A couple of weeks ago, they had an Italian evening. Life moves on. My niece, Mayan, is engaged to get married. Leor and his wife, Cheval, are now expecting their third child. My hope and prayers are for there to be peace in Israel and the Middle East, and for the hostages to be returned, every single one of them. Pharaoh and Hitler couldn't stop the Jewish people. We're more than a race. We're a family. And it doesn't matter where we are in the world, we are connected. But we're connected by love. And it's not just love for us, it's love for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. I'd now like to invite John Mason, MSP, to speak to us. John has been a huge friend of the Jewish community in Glasgow Friends of Israel. I remember when we first started the group 10 years ago, we were looking for friendly politicians. And the first one we went to see was John Mason. He's been a friend ever since, and he often comes to see us at the stall in Glasgow. Now, John has been MSP for Glasgow Shettleston, which, by the way, is where Glenthorpe Hill Cemetery is. And he has been a member of the SNP for 30 years, has been. The reason I say that is because last year, when John was standing up for the state of Israel in the Scottish Parliament by saying that Israel had not committed genocide in Gaza, he was expelled from the SNP. Shame, shame on the SNP. He then tried to appeal the decision, and he was not given the opportunity to go back to the SNP. I'm not sure what he feels about that now, but John has told me that he's not standing again, so maybe being an independent gives him a bit more freedom to say the things he'd like to say in Parliament. John, please come up and join us.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. It's a great privilege to be with this group. Those of you who were here last year we were at Kelvin Grove in Glasgow. You may remember we had an extremely loud PA system trying to drown us out, and I'm very glad that's not here today. But I have to say, the same has happened. There was a women's group out here recently, and the same happened to them. They were drowned out. So I have raised both of these cases with the police as a complaint. Clearly, a lot has been happening this week. The tragic events in Manchester, the flotilla going to Gaza, and then the potential peace deal with the hostages hopefully being released. My own minor pleasure in amongst all of that was going to Waverley Station on Thursday evening. I didn't realise there was something happening. I arrived there about 7:30 from a train, and the place is full, and being a politician does mean you're a bit in the public eye, so I get spotted and had this camera in my face being harangued by somebody, but that's pretty minor in comparison with what other people have suffered. Just to start with Manchester, I would offer my condolences and support to those who have suffered so much and are suffering, obviously families and friends suffering so much at this time. It was awful and it was shocking, but perhaps it was not entirely surprising. Many of the same people who offered support after Thursday's events were the same people who had been accusing Israel of genocide and using other extreme language in the days leading up to that. Now, I'm not accusing these people of causing the murders, but it is a reminder that we all have a responsibility to use reasonable language and to try to discuss all of these issues in a sensible and calm way. And that's why I have to say I admire Jackson Carlaw over here and Sammy and Vicky as well in Buchanan Street, who put forward arguments for Israel, for the Jewish community in a sensible and respectful way. Now, on the hostages, it looks like things are a bit encouraging, but frankly, I'm a bit sceptical, and I wait and see what will actually happen. But we do seem to be a little bit closer to a final release than we have been. It can be so difficult to know from the media what is actually happening. I mean, anywhere in the world, but especially in Gaza. And I have to say, I've been reading recently a report from the Begin Sadat Center at Bar-Ilan University, which I found very, very helpful in just giving some of the facts and analysing some of the figures around the number of trucks needed going into Gaza, whether or not there's a famine, just all of these kind of issues. We can't just rely on one source very clearly. We certainly can't rely just on the BBC. And we do, I find it helpful to read from different sources and read different angles and try and find out what's going on. Now, I've got Christian faith very important to me, and I've been praying in recent months that God would raise up peacemakers for Israel and Gaza, for Ukraine as well, for that matter, but especially for Israel and Gaza. And I've certainly felt for a long time that at some point there will need to be negotiations and peace talks, both for the immediate future and the hostages getting released, but also for the longer term. And, you feel, I certainly feel for the hostages, I do not know how I would be 2 years of captivity, and clearly some of them not being very well looked after at all. And I certainly agree that Israel has needed to be firm and strong, in its reaction to what happened 2 years ago. But I don't know whether Hamas can be completely defeated or not, and if they are, does some other organization rise up in their place? For those of you that know scripture and the story of David, who was king of Israel, there's a good example of a peacemaker in his life. That's before he became king, actually, when Saul was chasing him around the wilderness. Some people are familiar with that. And he was looking after some of the other people. And one of the people he looked after was Nabal, who was quite a rich guy with a lot of sheep and goats. And then David needed some help, and he went to Nabal, and Nabal said, "Go and take a jump. I'm not helping you at all. Who are you?" And at that point, David, not surprisingly, was incensed. He got his men all armed up, ready to have a battle with Nabal. But then a peacemaker came on the scene, and that was Nabal's wife, Abigail. And she realized how stupid Nabal was being and sent a conciliatory message and some gifts to David, and the situation was resolved. For those who really know the story, Nabal was struck down very soon after that. So I thank you for the opportunity for taking part today. We do need peacemakers all around the world, and especially in relation to Israel and Gaza. And I share the surprise that Donald Trump might be the one who achieves it. Not my number one hero, but God uses all sorts of people. But may I show my support for the hostages, for the Jewish community in Scotland and around the world, and especially in Israel. I believe we have a God who is loving and merciful and compassionate, and my prayer is that we all experience him whatever part of the world we're in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. Very inspiring words for the Jewish community. I'd like to ask Christina Harrison to join us now. Christina is the manager of Camera UK. She was born in Scotland to Canadian parents. I see her dad is in the audience today. She earned her BA from Glasgow University, and then she went to Israel to do an MA in Tel Aviv, where she strengthened her commitment to Israel. In March 2020, she returned to Scotland to reopen the Centre for Scotland and Israel Relations on behalf of the Embassy of Israel in the UK. But she joined Camera in 2022, and she'll tell us a little bit about that. Christina.
Firstly, I want to begin by thanking the organisers and volunteers who have made today's October 7th commemoration possible. Okay. Your work ensures that memory, solidarity remain alive in Scotland. Today, Camera is pleased to be partaking in today's event and vigil. I also want to acknowledge something personal. As a Christian ally, I have been deeply shaken by the frightening rise of anti-Semitism that we are witnessing across our societies. That is why I feel compelled to stand with you here today. The Jewish people should never feel alone in this struggle. Anti-Semitism is not only a Jewish problem, it is a human problem, and it demands a human response. We gather here at a time of deep pain and reflection. On October 7th, the promise never again was broken. Genocidal hatred that many thought belonged to history erupted once again, more against the Jewish people. We come today to mourn, to remember, and above all, to recommit ourselves to ensuring that such hatred is never allowed to take root again. I wish to speak about the role of the media. The truth is stark. Misinformation and distortion have become some of the most powerful weapons against Israel and the Jewish community. Too often reporting sacrifices accuracy for sensationalism. Stories are sourced from voices with open hostility towards Israel, voices that sometimes deny its right to exist. At Camera, where I work, we monitor these patterns every day. We see how narratives are twisted, how facts are ignored, and how context is erased. And we see the consequences these distortions how they spread unchecked. These narratives do not stay confined to the headlines. They shape the attitudes on university campuses, in parliaments, and in the public spheres. They fuel protests that blur the line between criticism of policy and the rejection of a people's very right to self-determination. They create an atmosphere when anti-Zionism are normalized. We know from history that propaganda is never harmless. Lies about Jews have always carried a cost. From medieval blood libels to modern conspiracy theories, Today is no different. When the media misrepresents Israel, when it erases context, or it repeats unverified things, the damage is not abstract. It lands on Jewish communities here in Scotland, across the UK, and around the world. And yet we are not without hope. Each of us here has a role to play. We can challenge falsehoods with facts. We can remind our neighbours that the Jewish people, like all other peoples, have the right to safety, dignity, and sovereignty. We can demand that our institutions, whether universities, parliaments, or newspapers, meet the standard of truth. The memory of October 7th commands us not to look away, never again, is not a slogan of the past, but it is a responsibility for us in the present. Let us leave here resolved to stand with courage, to speak with clarity, and to act with compassion, to ensure that in Scotland, in the UK, and everywhere, that hatred finds no refuge and the truth never lacks a defender. Bring them home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Jane Wynick is a mum and grandma who has been involved in Leeds community for many years. She started writing on October 10th, 2023, in response to the world's reaction to October the 7th massacre. Her blogs resonate around the world as many echo her thoughts and emotions. A book of the first year, Voice from the Heart, A Year of War, was published in May, and Jane continues her advocacy for Israel and the hostages on talks and speeches around the country.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is Jane Wynick. I'm the writer of a daily blog on Facebook and Substack, so please follow me, and the author of Voice from the Heart, A Year of War, a book that follows the first year of this conflict and the world's reaction to it from my perspective as a British Jew. I put off writing this speech as long as I could, as I'd hoped we would not still be in the place that we are, where 48 hostages have been held captive, murdered, or starved and tortured for 2 years. I had prayed and hoped that by this anniversary, we would be in a place where the world would see evil and stand up to it. There is a plan for peace on the table, supported by many Arab and Muslim countries. Not perfect, but a start. Of course, Hamas has at this time of writing said, yes, but. And the detail is in the but. But let's hope that the hostages are home very, very soon, and that this time next week I can take off my hostage badge. But on Thursday, on Yom Kippur, what we had all known was inevitable came. An attack on a synagogue in Manchester, with 2 murdered and 3 still in hospital. Manchester, where my daughter and grandchildren live and attend shul. 2 years ago, on October the 7th, I, like all of you, watched the massacre on Israel happen. I could not believe what I was hearing and seeing. We checked in on family and friends in Israel and stayed close to the TV. But part of me thought that at least now the world will see what Israel is dealing with, what this terrible ideology is, that you cannot have peace with Hamas, who can invade, murder, massacre, rape, behead, and burn innocent people. Many of those people who worked alongside Palestinians and worked for peace. Now the world will see. And on October the 8th, I realised I was wrong, and how wrong. Marches were already being held, media was already turning on Israel, and the rush to sanctify this massacre and call it just had begun. From that day to this, all we have seen is a barrage of hate, lies, and systemic demonising of not just Israel, but of Jews and anyone who dares stand with Israel. On Thursday, we saw where this disinformation, this misinformation, and this demonisation led to. The word Zionism has been turned to mean Nazi, war turned to a false genocide, and the aid stolen by Hamas was turned to famine. Time after time, news articles, social media, arts, academia, sport, food. Every part of everyday life has been weaponized by this Jew hate. It is said that anti-Semitism is a shape-shifting virus and that the demonization of Israel is just its latest shape. But in many ways, it is bigger than this, as politicians and government, especially in the UK, bow to an ideology that is against all our values. For the sake of what? Money, votes, power, take your pick. But meanwhile, Israel has spent 2 years defending its people, coping with the loss of so many that were massacred on October the 7th, and trying every way to bring its hostages home. Hamas and many in Gaza do not hide what they are or what they want. The celebrations in Gaza as hostages were dragged back in, the vile macabre shows that they put on back in February as some hostages were released, the complicity from all sections of the society, from doctors, so-called journalists and teachers, housing the hostages, abusing and starving them, the using of their own as human shields and telling us we will fight until every Palestinian is dead for our cause, using their own as expendable in the race to kill Jews. How can you make peace with these terrorists? But as I waited to write this speech, hoping against hope it would be a very different one, this is exactly what the UN and the UK and many others are doing, appeasing terror. They dare to recognise a Palestinian state while hostages are held, innocent hostages. We know how different things would and could have been if Hamas had been isolated on October the 8th and pressure brought to bear by Qatar, Iran, the UN and all the free world. Many lives on both sides would have been saved. It is them and all the useful idiots that have fallen for this propaganda that have blood on their hands. For British Jews, this week saw a terrible situation get even worse. Our government's insistence on ignoring hate, appeasing those who support hate, and ignoring us as a community led to the murders on Yom Kippur. And to add insult to injury, pro-Palestinian, Jew-hating demonstrations went ahead on Thursday night, calling for intifada just hours after these murders in Glasgow, Edinburgh, London, Leeds, and even in Manchester, not just 2 miles from these murders. Ever more violent and unhinged while the police and the government acquiesce. But, and there's always a but, we, all of you standing here and at all the commemorations around the world today, whether you are Jewish or our allies, we have stood steadfast with Israel and with the Jewish people. We have supported each other and our family and friends in Israel. The wonderful Glasgow Friends of Israel and the others around Scotland have been out every week standing for right against evil. The regular posts of their experiences on a Saturday have been a source of comfort and joy to so many of us. And I thank you all, along with all of those who stand every week keeping the plight of the hostages alive, be they in Leeds, Manchester, London, Boreham Wood, Brighton, and so many more. And the support from our allies who do not have to stand with us, but choose to stand with us, keep us going. It is hard to stress how much each and every one of you mean to every Jew. To know we are not alone and we are together in this. We say to all our allies, thank you. But the silence of other communities has often hurt. For me, the silence of the Muslim communities against this evil ideology stalking our planet is particularly painful. For many Jews, growing up from a refugee experience, we know how much we value the freedoms the UK gave our families when we arrived on these shores. The freedom to practice our culture and our religion has always sat comfortably with our love of Britain and our British values. Now it seems we are not so welcome by all. The horrific rise in anti-Semitism, ignored by the police and the government, the two-tier policing and the lack of prosecutions of those who chant to kill us. A government who ignores us, who cannot even be bothered to send anyone to stand with the 70,000 Jews a few weeks ago in London. All sad beyond belief as our country seems to be changing. In our history, we have seen many tragedies and we have prevailed. Today, as we stand at the second anniversary of the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, praying for the release of all 48 innocent hostages, we stand together, we stand as Jews and allies, and we stand for peace and for hope. May this next year bring peace to all, bring our hostages home to their families, and bring clarity and sanity in a world that seems to have lost its way. Thank you.
Sammy didn't want to introduce me, so I'll introduce myself. Good afternoon, my name's Timothy Lovett. I'm the chair of the Jewish Council of Scotland, and I'm not scheduled to speak today, so I haven't prepared anything. However, that may be a good thing and maybe a bad thing, we don't know yet. However, what I would say is I wanted to just thank you all for coming out today. It's very easy for members of the Jewish community to come out and stand for such a worthwhile cause in this vigil today, but I particularly want to thank the non-Jewish people who are here today, because you're making the extra effort to stand with us, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you're here. I wanted to thank, I'm sure there's an official vote of thanks to Vicky and Sam, who are wonderful, but I wanted to thank all the speakers and the singers and everybody who's done everything today, but the person at the top of my list who I want to single out is Jackson Carla, who is so often the lone voice in this building here supporting the Jewish people. Jackson, thank you so much. I have nothing more to say, but the Jewish Council of Scotland's here representing all the Jews of Scotland, so if anybody's got anything they want, anything they need, all you have to do is get in touch, and that's it. Thank you very much. Stay safe.
I'll soon ask Dana to sing her third song, and that will bring our vigil today to a close. I hope that you found the program to be interesting and reflective, and we appreciate the contributions of everyone who's taken part. Thanks must go to Police Scotland for looking after us, and to our two friends, Bruce Valentine and Paul McPhail, who are CST trained and offered to come along today to be with us. Tammy, Jack and I would also like to sincerely thank the Israeli Embassy in London and Camera for their generosity and support of this event. And to our lovely friends Laura and Sarah from Levichad in Glasgow, who packaged hundreds of shortbreads that I hope everybody's managed to enjoy. No? Well, there's still some left. We'll have a minute's silence after Dana has sung, and then she will lead us in Hatikva. After that, we'll we have handed out photos. Thank you to Lisa, and we'd appreciate it if you could hold them up so that we could take some photographs. And can I ask you to return them afterwards, as we use these every week at our street stall on Buchanan Street and here at our weekly vigil during First Minister's Questions. And we'd like to thank Molly and the members of the Edinburgh Hebrew congregation who come here every week as well to stand in the vigil. Dana's last song today is Shavim, which she will sing in Hebrew. The English translation is the word equal. It's a song that reminds us that despite our differences, at the core, we are all the same. We all share the same fears, the same dreams, the same longing for peace. Singing it here is a way of affirming that what unites us is stronger than what divides us.
Sorry about this.
You got this, Edward.
It's an old story, this. I'm not very good technically, but I am.
It's the same thing.
Acapella.
It was there before.
Pardon?
אתה לבן, אני שחור, אני חשוך, אתה באור שמחמם כמו אמא ושדואג לך. אתה קטן, אני גדול, אני רוצה, אתה יכול לרקוד, לצעוד קדימה, להיות שלם בין אנשים. ואולי יבוא יום ונהפוך שווים, אתה תהיה לי נחל ואני לך ימים, ונזרום ביחד עד אינסוף, שנייה לפני שקו החוף מגיע, שנייה לפני שקו החוף מגיע. אני בוכה, אתה צועק, אני טועה, אתה צודק, זו הצגה שלנו. ואין קהל ואין במה, אולי נשב ננוח. אתה, אני וגם תחלוף הרוח, ויעברו כל השנים, ואולי יבוא יום ונהפוך שווים, אתה תהיה לי נחל ואני לך ימים, ונזרום ביחד עד אינסוף, שנייה לפני שקו החוף מגיע, שנייה לפני שקו החוף מגיע. ואולי יבוא יום ונהפוך שווים, אתה תהיה לי נחל ואני לך ימים, ונזרום ביחד עד אינסוף, שנייה לפני שקו החוף מגיע, שנייה לפני שקו החוף מגיע. Thank you.
We're nearly at the end of the vigil, but we'd like everybody now to stand in memory of the 7th of October and of our hostages for a minute's silence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, just before we finish with Hatikva, to let the people who came on the bus, to let you know that the bus will be back at 4:10 and pick you up where you were dropped off. So just find it at 4:10. Right, I'm going to ask Diana to come back and lead us in Hatikva.
Nefesh Yehudi Omiyah Ufatei Mizrach Kadima Ayin Letzion Sophia Olam Tikvateinu Tikva Patznotat Bayim Lion Talchovshi Be'atzenu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim Lion Talchovshi Be'atzenu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim.
Can everybody hold up their hostage photos and we can take some photos?
Just wishing everybody a safe trip home, and hopefully we will not be back here for another one next year. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
So as you heard, that brings to the end 2 hours of wonderful speeches, support and solidarity shown by the populations of Glasgow, Edinburgh and around Scotland. Hopefully you got something out of that, and we'll leave it there. We're going to pack up and head south back to Leeds. Be well, be safe, look after yourselves and enjoy the coming festival of Sukkot. Bye-bye from Edinburgh.